So now we're talking about
regime change war in
actual
the Ukraine.
regime change in
Because I want to just go back. I want to circle the wagons. It's a great time to go back and look at what happened. Because you have to understand what we did was really disgusting. We actually supported, and this was during the Obama administration, neo-Nazis in a party to take over parliament in the Ukraine. And there's no denying that. There's no denying that. And then we stopped selling them weapons, and we let Israel sell weapons to the neo-Nazis. So when we say all this stuff about defending themselves and they're going to be the victim again, bullshit. They're funding the Netanyahu government has funded neo-Nazis in the Ukraine, and there's no hiding that. We talked about this over 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago when we were doing our show. We pointed this stuff out. But let's connect the dots because there's a man I want to start with, and the guy who started it all, his name was Petro Porkchop Poroshenko. I called him Porkchop.
Oh, okay.
That is my nickname for him. I actually, one of my favorite guys, and don't get me started, but Poroshenko eventually became the president of the Ukraine government that started in a regime change of what happened in 2014. And it was a violent regime change. It was a deadly regime change. Ukraine has always been split in two, with Eastern Ukraine being more ethnic Russians. It was a part of Russia at one point, and they are very different than the people in the west part of Ukraine who are very tied to the European Union. And there's a lot of, once again, there's a lot of neo-Nazis and there's all that stuff in Western Ukraine, and it's kind of disgusting. Now, the goal of this whole this regime change, once again, fam, is we wanted to put a knife in the side of Russia. It was a proxy war. Again, you know what I'm saying? We also wanted it to cause chaos and get them away from Russia. So we looked to make our mark right there when we saw a little bit of upbringing. And don't get me wrong, in a lot of these countries, like in Syria, like in the Ukraine, there are protests going on. Just like there's protests going on in this country, and there's protests going on in France. Are we jumping in France and backing those?
No.
Are we backing the yellow vest right now?
I wonder why.
Are we backing the people?
Are we backing the Haitians?
No. You know what I'm saying?
Ecuador?
So, because there's no interest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Mark Sloboda, he's one of my favorite guys. This guy lives in Moscow. He teaches at the University of Moscow.
You're a Russian asset, aren't you?
I am a Russian. I'm a Russian favorite, okay? He also has family members in Ukraine, so he was really up to date on this stuff. And I loved watching Mark Sloboda. Now, here he is 5 years ago on a tweet, and I put down 5 years ago explaining the hostile and violent regime of Poroshenko killed and terrorized the citizens of eastern Ukraine. Let us not forget that Porkchop, that's my nickname, Petro Porochenko, was an oligarch backed by the EU and the U.S. Hashtag regime change war. Hashtag Ukrainegate. Now look what he says.
And he retweeted you, right?
He retweeted me. I was so happy.
Oh, nice.
That's what a foreign policy. And I was like, Mark Sloboda. Now, I'm sorry, Mark Sloboda, if you're watching the show, you became in second place for my Halloween costume. Maybe next year I'll be you for Halloween, but this year I'm going to be Peter Lavelle for Halloween. I'm going to go get the Peter Lavelle haircut, the suit and stuff.
I think I want to be Elizabeth Warren trying to be Bernie Sanders. I think that would be a great costume.
Yeah! So let's take a look at this little film. I cut this up from 5 years ago. And if you get the chance, go back and watch Crosstalk 5 years ago, and you can unfold the whole Ukraine situation. They were on top of it.
And I think that there is a great deal of resentment now within eastern Ukraine against the Russian government because of this. I mean, these are people that are dying by the scores every day with prayers to Russia to save them on their lips. And the Russian people really expect that, maybe not through a direct military intervention, but at the very least that the Russian government should give the people of eastern Ukraine the financial, military, and other support it needs to defend itself on equal terms. And really, for Mary Dejevsky to describe the election, quote unquote, of Poroshenko as legitimate is really, in my opinion, an obscene caricature of the democratic process. We had a literal pogrom going on in this country where opposition party members were beat repeatedly within an inch of their lives. There was assassination attempts on them. Their offices and houses were burned to the ground. We have video seeing opposition party members literally tortured on the Maidan Square by mobs. All right, and just 2 weeks before the election, when there was massive turnout in a referendum, a self-organized people's referendum to distance themselves from this regime in Kiev, on that day, the regime was shelling and killing the people in an attempt to vote against it. So I think it's really quite cynical and hypocritical of anyone from someone who considers themselves a democratic country to describe the regime of this oligarch Poroshenko as legitimate in any way.
So once again, he said the oligarch Poroshenko. Once again, I talked about this. It's a bunch of oligarchs making a move with ties to the European Union and the United States that want to get the government out there. And once again, you can see that they try to make Putin the boogeyman. Within his own country, people were encouraging Putin to get involved. And Putin was trying to stay back, okay, because they were saying, these are our people in eastern Ukraine. They are begging for our help. And as soon as he sent in some aid to help them, or the Russian separatists themselves went over there that wanted Ukraine to be safe, they started demonizing Putin and make it look like he was the one causing problems. Meanwhile, they were getting killed and tortured. And once again, by Nazis, neo-Nazis within this party, killing people, and the people of eastern Ukraine begging for help.
But why are you defending Putin, Pasta? Why are you being such a Russian?
Because I'm a Russian asset, number one.
No, but I mean, like, seriously, what would you tell people that?
Well,
say
because
you're
I don't want to
defending
be at war with our biggest geopolitical adversary for many years. This country has weapons. This country has the ability to blow it up. They are the other major power along with China. And once the United States wants to share that power, the peaceful we will be as a planet. I don't want to get saber rattling with Putin. You know what I'm saying? This is about oligarchs gaining power. It's about individuals wanting more control over all the small people. So what do? They demonize Russia, and they try to thrust us into these wars and into these situations. And you can see the people of Ukraine were getting, and these were by Nazis. We supported neo-Nazis, fam.
So bottom line, even though Putin has done some things that would be considered undemocratic, even though he has ruled in a way that is autocratic, that does not mean that this isn't true, that the U.S. was backing a coup, another one, that was helping neo-Nazis and destroying and killing people in Eastern Europe. People need to be able to understand that a lot of the politicians that we vilify may not be necessarily good actors. There might not be, good guys and bad guys. Everybody has dirt on them in these situations. It's not cut and dry. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray areas in foreign policy, because unfortunately that's the way the world has been functioning.
Yeah, and it's a group. It's a bunch of oligarchs. We talked about Poroshenko, Porkchop Poroshenko, and I say Porkchop so you can remember the name because he became the president after the regime change. Porkchop Poroshenko is an oligarch, and that's what Mark Sloboda was talking about. And oligarchs help their other oligarch friends, right? So now you take over Ukraine, you got control of their country, you can buy weapons. So what do? Ukraine launched a probe of the military sale by the fundraiser for Adam Schiff. You bring in your boy, okay? You bring in your boy Igor Pasternak, who's an arms dealer. Now here's an article from the Liberty, and it shows. And once again on this show, we talked about it. We showed that Igor Pasternak had fundraisers for Adam Schiff over here. So they're all working together. Hey, you help us out in your government in Congress. You get us aid, you get us money over here so we can overturn this government and we'll be in a line with you. And Igor Pasternak, if you look down, it says, it's an article at this one right here. I just want to show where it says that Poroshenko attended this opening right here. They gave them the contract. Right, right above that, I believe it is. Right there, that sentence right there. It says, Petro Porochenko, the president of Ukraine, was there for the inauguration ceremony of this border surveillance system in 2017. So once again, the carpetbaggers got all into it. Poroshenko, Pasternak, Adam Schiff. This was a regime change from all sides. All people helping out, and once again, it was the Democrats, the party of Clinton, of Biden, who were carpetbagging and had their hands on it, and they perpetuated regime change. And you see how people got killed. They didn't care as long as they got their money, fam. And we should never forget what happened, because just like Venezuela, this is an on-TV coup. They're okaying it, and there's not enough public pushback, except from certain candidates like Tulsi Gabbard, to say hands off Venezuela unequivocally. That's what we need going forward. That is what we did. That is the sins we were committing in the name of regime change war, in the name of imperialism. That is what we've done. That is the blood we spread, and we have to stop it. And next time it happens, and it's happening right now, we got to get on it. And that's why Tulsi Gabbard is my number one candidate, and that's why I love Bernie Sanders. He's my number two, and I hope they come together.